Okay, I get asked this a lot, and I think I figured it out. I've never been married. I don't have kids. I do yoga every day, and I drink a lot of wine. I'm gonna be 60.
I have to say a huge, massive thank you so much for 10,000 subscribers. I have been swinging all the way from, oh my god, yay, this is amazing, to I'm gonna let everybody down, but you know, overall, like, yay. There has been this rising trend of saying that celebrities who are non-problematic age like fine wine, aka they do not even age at all. And it's kind of been a little bit niggly on my brain because I think a lot about ageism and ageism in our society. I've talked about this in multiple videos, but when people say non-problematic, just because I'm relaying this in the video doesn't mean that I think that the person is non-problematic. It's a weird phrase to begin with, right? Let's just agree there. When people say that, I'm just relaying what you've told me via Instagram stories, what articles have said, what TikToks, Reels, whatever have been saying. It's not necessarily my opinion. And if you've watched my videos, I think that you know I'm not really a fan of pedestals. I think that we should be able to see everybody as being human. People can make mistakes, they can learn and grow from them. And putting people on a pedestal is not really helping them or us, so I'm not really a fan of that. You can celebrate people's achievements, but you can also still recognize that they're just a person, okay? Cool. In 2021, the global anti-aging market was estimated to be worth about $62.6 billion.
$100 billion.
The anti-aging market is estimated to see a compound annual growth rate of nearly 7% between 2022 and 2027. So as you can see, the anti-aging market is absolutely thriving, despite the fact that we're living in a cost of living crisis and a recession that hasn't specifically been labelled as being a recession, but we've all kind of taken a pay cut, right? Because it hasn't been keeping up with inflation rates, but yeah, we'll just skip over that, okay? You're not here for an economics lesson. We're incredibly concerned with how we look, and more importantly, to make sure our faces don't show character development. Wait, sorry. I mean signs of aging, you know, from actually living life. You have seen the anti-wrinkle straws. We've been exposed to adverts for hundreds of years at this point. Anti-aging has been incorporated into movies from a satirical point of view with Death Becomes Her, all the way to just part of everyday life like with 1939's The Women. In South Korea, some people have an anti-aging routine from the age of 11, perhaps even earlier. There's family facialists that kids go to with their mothers and even get a toddler facial. There is a fantastic article by Bryony, which I've linked for you down below, detailing that far more goes all into the history and everything. And there's also a really good video from Aini, which I discovered a few months ago, kind of focuses on the beauty expectations in China, but also in East Asian cultures. And there's another video which I came across from Jessica Lee, which I'll also link for you down below. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I only really know like Western beauty standards from what I have grown up in, what I've been exposed to personally, what I live with. So it's not my place as a white person to go saying, this is exactly how it is. I tried to find some studies because you know me, I love to be able to have like some data or something at least to dive into things and expose things a little bit more. There was a cross-cultural study on attitudes towards aging people from 26 countries. The general consensus is that people got wiser, but people also hold the view of age-related declines in fluid cognitive abilities. But they didn't really talk about desirability or beauty of older people. But I did find a study which is called From Double to Triple Standards of Aging, Perceptions of Physical Appearance at the Intersections of Age, Gender and Class. But the thing is that that study was conducted in Finland, which kind of has greater gender equality overall. So take that with a grain of salt, and it's just in one country, but the results did find something which sort of correlate with what I've been thinking as well, and what a lot of people have been thinking from all the articles I've read, which is our results show that women are substantially more concerned about aging, especially from 30 years of age, as it affects their physical appearance throughout their lives. On the other hand, men experience this worry from 45 years of age, but considerably less overall. Are we at all surprised by this, with the silver fox trope and dad bods being considered to be desirable? Meanwhile, women age to be seen as like they've let themselves go and they get referred to as hags. The thing is that we've been socialized to sort of believe that a woman's worth is very closely related to her youth and beauty. We've had this through media messaging, magazines, even through family and friends. I mean, heck, when I was a kid, I was incredibly scared of getting wrinkles. I was trying not to move my face and do basically the things that this girl on TikTok is doing. And they actually get a lot of hate thrown their way, but the thing is, I don't really know their age, but their brain is probably still developing, and you're dealing with like this thing on TikTok where it's kind of become this hyper-consumerist anti-aging space. So I'm not at all surprised that it's got people thinking this way as well, because I was thinking that, and I was only exposed to the 90s and 2000s media and screens and magazines and friends and family and all of that. That's all that I was exposed to, and I was like smiling like, come on, that's ridiculous. I was trying not to express myself at all, and now these days I've got like such a cartoonish face, so there we go. I've seen people from Gen Z feel like they need to get baby Botox at the age of 16 to prevent signs of aging. To put it simply, to age is to be ugly, which is why we have these shining beacons of unproblematic people that seemingly don't age, that are being held up on pedestals, and I've got a big problem with it. Being ugly means that you're bad, and aging is categorically ugly according to patriarchal Eurocentric beauty standards. I've spoken about the fear of aging in my Pretty Privilege video, my BDD video, and my ageism video, and quite a few others, but those are the three key ones. But the thing that I specifically want to focus on for this one is this notion of online labeling of celebrities as being non-problematic, which is why they look so good as they get older. They seemingly defy aging with just their goodness. From Anne Hathaway to J-Lo to Gabrielle Union, even to Taylor Swift, and I'm sorry, but Taylor Swift is the same age as me. What do you think happens to us when we reach the age of 30?
Suppose it doesn't help that underneath our clothes our entire bodies are covered in scales.
Have we really not gotten past the halo effect? Now, if you haven't watched my video on this, it's called Attractiveness Bias or Lookism. I actually even bought a book on Lookism over a decade ago at this point, because this whole thing really did get in my head for a very long time. It still is. Basically means that attractive people are generally perceived more positively than unattractive people. And yes, there are many studies which show the preferential treatment that attractive people get over unattractive people. This ranges all the way from how kids get treated in school, to people that get hired for jobs, to how much you get paid for your job, to the promotions that you get in the job, all the way up to politics and even criminal cases. I've already got a whole video on that, and I'll link it at the end of this so that you can go to there, because there are so many studies that I've referenced in that video, and it's like 2 years old, so I bet that you haven't seen it. Beauty and youth is good in our fairy tales. Our move is inescapable from infancy. Ugly outside means ugly inside. It's a punishment to look, quote, bad, and let's be quite clear here, when we're on about a beautiful look, the category is very narrow for this. It abides by patriarchal standards, young, white, Eurocentric normally. Like, that's sort of the ideal, at least in a very Western world. Sure, maybe absolutely fetishizing different cultures and taking it from other places to then put together to create what is deemed to be an attractive person by splicing parts of them together. Because that's not a problem at all. It means that we've kind of gotten to the point where looking average is seen as being ugly, and it's not really good. And if you haven't seen this video by Teen Noir, what have you done with your life? It's over a year old now, but I'll have it linked down below.
Effective tools, but that wasn't the flip of the switch. The flip of the switch was, and continues to be, society's standard and default discontent towards Black women in the ordinary.
To quote, age badly, or naturally, or just have genes that mean that you actually show signs of aging more quickly on your face, or you're exposed to different things in life which mean that is the case, it kind of means that you're an ugly person, apparently. There are very specific things when it comes to being seen as ugly when it comes to aging that I really want to touch on, because I was trying to find famous people with these features. Shocker, it was incredibly hard, especially trying to find people that are deemed to be attractive with these features. Traits of aging, like deep frown lines here, like having jowls, like a very wrinkly neck, like defined under eye bags, like your eyes drooping, like age spots, like wrinkles around your mouth, say for example if someone had been a heavy smoker. Kind of everything that basically means that you're, quote, ugly according to patriarchal beauty standards. When we actually look at who's been deemed to age gracefully, there is a very particular look that you'll notice, like the faces are very full. You don't really actually see jowls, and I was specifically looking out for this one because I've noticed that it's basically lacking everywhere in Hollywood unless you're Dame Judi Dench. Look at Viola Davis, Helen Mirren, Angela Bassett, Glenn Close, Joanna Lumley, like I guess you could say Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, but Those two are in their 80s, and look at their signs of aging. What signs of aging? There's no gels in sight. Like, this is what I mean. It's a natural part of a lot of people's faces. When it comes to Hollywood, gels are basically considered to be unacceptable, and I was trying to find any people that are considered to be, you know, attractive or aging well that have those sorts of traits that I was listing before. I couldn't find them when it comes to Hollywood, and we know that Hollywood has a very high standard. So I was also looking at old models, if that makes sense. Like, you know how people get booked for jobs when they're in the older age category? It's very, very hard to find those people. There is a very specific look when it comes to aging well, and it's a very plump face, and you have some crinkles around your eyes to give you a nice kind smile, because of course we want women to be non-threatening as they get older, because otherwise you get into the hag sub-variety, you know, tropes are hard to die apparently. And maybe you're also allowed to get a cheeky smile line as well, and possibly if you're over 50 a few wrinkles on your neck, but other than that you're not really allowed to show signs of aging like that. It's quite plump and taut. The fact that we've got people who are being labelled as unproblematic and not aging who are below the age of 35 is actually scary to me. We've got people like Zendaya. She is 26 and people are saying that she's aging like a fine wine. Oh, sweetie. Oh my goodness. It's just reinforcing the notion that women over the age of 30 are irrelevant as they are undesirable to men. Now let's be clear here. All of this is functioning under patriarchy's beauty preferences. Like, there are others that also fell into this category, like Taylor Swift, like I mentioned before, Sky Jackson. And when it comes to your submissions, because I did ask on Instagram, thank you again for participating, a lot of men were suggested, and I specifically said I want women for this reason. When it comes to the women that you suggested who are non-problematic and have aged like a fine wine or just not aged at all, you had a better age range. So we have people like Penelope Cruz, who's 48, Selma Hayek, who's 56, Brandy, who's 44, Drew Barrymore, who's 48, Blake Lively was also suggested, but she's 35. Very young to me. Mila Kunis was also suggested. She is 39. I've got a host of problems with her though because of all of the crypto stuff that she's done with her husband Ashton Kutcher.
Like, everybody that I knew that knew anything about it at the time was always a man, and I was like, it's gonna be that hard. What?
Someone booed you. Well,
what's wrong with your audience? Well,
same as Reese Witherspoon was also suggested, who once again, crypto terribleness.
I'm committed to supporting creators who have pioneered the NFT space and encouraging more women to be a part of the conversation, because 70% of the people benefiting from crypto are men.
Which I would also not label them as being unproblematic, because these people, both of them, did it very well informed and continue to, as a way to empower women. Stop it. Elle Woods, you've disappointed me.
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you?
Now, when I think of aging well, my age range was about 60 that I was trying to find people in the category of. But most other people, same as the lists I see online, same as the videos, it ranges between 30 to 55 roughly. And that's quite a low, it's quite a low bar, with a lot of them being up to the age of about 45. And I'm here just thinking, oh, wow, we've become irrelevant quite quickly, don't we? I know that we're on about famous people in Hollywood at the moment. There is a significant ageism issue when it comes to Hollywood, but the fact that even my followers couldn't really suggest people that were in their 60s or over was a bit concerning to me. It's like, collectively, because we've been conditioned this way, we think of aging women as being over the age of 30, which is a bit Sex and the City bad. My concern here is the age of relevancy and attractiveness, which is of course linked to a woman's worth, because that's the world that we live in, is quite low. It's quite a low age, and I don't know, a lot of my audience are gonna age out of that very quickly. The power of a stylist and surgery speculation. Now, there are a lot of videos which have talked about the power of a stylist. Like, for example, we've got the classic case of Anne Hathaway. She stepped out in this hot pink number for the Valentino show, was it in 2022? And everyone was like, oh my gosh. And then she kind of recreated the Andrea Sachs look from The Devil Wears Prada, and she didn't look a day older than when she actually filmed that movie. So we've got someone that is now being labelled as unproblematic, even though people really hated her for the fact that she had an authentic response to getting an Oscar. But anyway, people now consider her to be unproblematic because she now fits into a different standard of beauty. Cool. Awesome. But it's not just stars now who are aging backwards. Like cosmetic surgery, lotions, potions, everything have been around for decades at this point. But people that tried to jump on the bandwagon fairly early, because of course as women in Hollywood you are kind of pressured to stay very young, they got very shamed for it. People are still getting the plastic surgery today, but the techniques are so much better. Like they've had many more years of specialization in things, and there are fantastic injectables that people can get, so you can barely even tell any work has been done. But I want you to cast your mind back to the botched surgeries that women were getting in the late 90s, early 2000s to sort of like try and counteract like signs of aging or anything because their agent told them to do it, or because of the sheer amount of shaming that women go through in regards to how they look if they're not looking the way that people want them to look. Do you remember how Meg Ryan was treated for getting that lip filler because people always took the mick out of her for how thin her lips were? Or think about Cher with the work that she had done on her face, or Courtney Cox when it comes to that filler. Another person is Lisa Rinna, and if you don't recognize the name, you'll recognize the picture when I pop it up here. And more recently as well with Jane Fonda, Dolly Parton, and Madonna. And I really want to focus on Madonna for just a moment because she is a pop star from the 1980s, an actual icon, and she's been torn to shreds repeatedly for how she looks, basically from the beginning honestly, as she pushed so many boundaries and supported marginalized people in a time where it was, you know, not okay to do so, and obviously like the whole burning cross thing and everything. But people are angry these days about her photo editing, the filters, and her plastic surgery. But the thing is that she's 64. She's had about 40 years in the limelight of people picking her apart and comparing her to her younger self. That would destroy basically anybody, so it's honestly no wonder to me when stars, celebrities, women in particular do fall prey to getting a lot of surgery done or getting fillers done or falling down these sorts of rabbit holes, because there is simply no pleasing people unless you age in the right way, which is basically to stay looking like you're 30 when you're 80. Then what choice do you have? Because you have to fit into this very narrow little mold. It's not really possible without severe intervention.
Here's how I look, I'm fat. There are a ton of women, celebrities or otherwise, who have kids and then go work out and get fit, get back in shape because they're trying to look good. And there are a lot of women that look really, really good. As soon as they get married, that's the trope. They let themselves go. That's why is it that in TV shows they have that trope of letting themselves go?
I want to talk about letting yourself go versus the silver fox. When I type in the phrase let yourself go, there are so many posts about this, articles written about this, pieces in particular by men and forum posts particularly by men, saying why is it that women let themselves go after they got married? They're not keeping up their end of the bargain. Like there is an expectation. This makes me so angry at patriarchy, not about men in particular, just about patriarchal standards and just the upholding of it. It frustrates me no end. The whole notion of the man should be the provider, so what, you're okay if the woman just doesn't work at all and everybody like basically starves because we all need to have like dual incomes and even then people are struggling? Great. The whole notion that a wife needs to continue to look like she did on her wedding day, or preferably when she was younger, let's be honest, like that's keeping up their end of the bargain. That is just incredibly concerning to me. One thing which made my heart ache was this 44-year-old woman who made a TikTok which went quite viral saying that they proudly aren't letting themselves go and falling trapped to the same things that other women do. And it just, it hurt. It hurts seeing people proudly do this because this is how we've been conditioned to think. I'm not saying that people shouldn't feel happy or even proud of how they look, like that is completely cool. The issue I'm pointing out here is the body checking, the judgment of yourself, the judgment of others, the comparison to others, the disordered eating to fit into the standards of 20-year-old is not exactly what I would call empowering. Enjoying exercise as it makes you feel powerful or brings you joy, eating things that truly nourish you and you enjoy, or doing ritual things, whether that's applying skincare or makeup because you love the way it feels, like I love it. The term letting yourself go is deemed to be a huge insult, that you don't care anymore. How dare you wear clothes that you feel comfortable in? How dare you let go of like diet mentalities of constant restriction and judging yourself and feeling unworthy? How dare you not feel insecure all the time anymore? You've just let yourself go. It's like you don't even care. What do you mean you don't want to wear clothes that make you feel restricted in them? How could you? A lot of the messaging around letting yourself go is that you're failing to be a good woman, as you're failing to show up properly for your husband, because of course heteronormative. Actually looking your age and just feeling comfortable in your body is considered to be a failure on your part of being a woman. Cool. I hate it here. Now, I did touch on this in my BDD video, but a huge amount of the people that actually get plastic surgery and non-invasive cosmetic procedures are actually middle age or above. With people over the age of 55, blepharoplasty, which is an eye lift, forehead lifts, facelifts, and neck lifts are the most popular surgeries in America. Social conditioning has made us fear aging and punish ourselves if we succumb to it. Then adding people saying that only bad people age and good-looking people are unproblematic, like, yikes, this is not helpful.
Stay young for longer. Capture you.
Continuing to celebrate age-defying as being someone who is worthy of celebrating because that equates to goodness? It's just a shallow take in my books. Who is this actually good for? Gen Z are already so incredibly worried about aging. Like, there is so many TikToks of Gen Z and their oldest age is what, like 24? Please, can we start celebrating accolades, kindness, community help, instead of something ultimately spawned out of mass-created insecurity because we feel so comfortable tearing people's looks apart for entertainment? Whether that's speculation on whether they've had surgery or not, we've created this space where people feel like they have to get surgery and lie about it because otherwise they can't get hired. And then you get angry at them for not disclosing it when you openly judge them. It's just upholding the systemic issues at hand and keeping the status quo and keeping people insecure. Therefore, the anti-aging industry will just keep on making billions of dollars every single year because we're feeding into those insecurities by helping give them to each other, by holding up these impossible standards. In my opinion, we need to start thinking about each other in bigger ways than just they're the prettiest person in the room, as that still holds up patriarchy. Celebrate wearing an outfit that they feel great in, even better if it's thrifted or old. Celebrate when someone achieves a work accolade or takes up a new hobby that they enjoy, or if they conquer a fear, or when someone does something great for the community, or you have a friendiversary. Can we please just stop celebrating an absolutely surface attribute of a person, which often comes down to self-punishment, self-loathing, and only really benefits patriarchy and plastic surgeons and big business? I don't really think that this is an empowering way forward. I know that people like to say that this is a compliment to say that someone's unproblematic, therefore they don't age. It's really not once you actually do unpack it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I will see you again next week. There will be a poll, so then you can vote on which topic you want me to tackle next. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I'll see you lovelies again next time. Bonus for anyone who stayed all the way to the end, I've left a blank space here so that Pixie can like hang out with me, but she's just been down here the whole time, and I'll quickly show you. So in case you're ever wondering, Pixie is always by my side and it's normally here, but I'm sorry that you can't see her normally, so ta-da! This is my cat, aka my shadow.